Welcome you today to Cape Conversations. We're going to have a wonderful conversation today with a great author named Makor, and she's a wonderful artist as well. She hails from Olympia, Washington, way out west, but we're so glad to have her today in Sandwich. So anyway, come along with me and have a Cape Conversation. Makor.
Hi.
Wow, so nice to meet you. Now tell me, you came all the way from Olympia, Washington today?
Yes, well, today I came from Boston, but
Oh,
I
okay.
am from Olympia, Washington.
You are. And
Yeah.
how long have you been in Massachusetts?
Just for the day.
Wow.
Or, it's hard to tell. 2 nights now.
2 nights,
Yeah.
okay. Great. And had you been here before?
Yes, a long time ago. My sister lived in Boston. She was going to school, and I'd come and
Oh my
I'd come
gosh.
out to the. I have a friend in Wellfleet, and so I'd come out and
Oh.
see her and
Wonderful.
drive down this way.
That's great. You know, I've been out to the Northwest and in Seattle, and although you have more awesome scenery, I have to give you that one with the mountains and the water and, you know, all the wonderful things that you have that direction.
Mm-hmm.
It certainly is, oh my hair, it certainly is not unlike here in certain ways. It's rural. It has a rural feeling about it. I think people are usually surprised at Massachusetts that we have so many big hills, you know? You don't have mountains necessarily.
Yeah. No, it is a lot similar. I do feel more at ease now that I'm away out of the city.
Yeah.
No, that's cement and everything's so trodden. And,
Right.
you know, and you go to the park and there's a chain link fence around it, and you realize that your child is standing next to poison ivy. It's stop. So it's nice to kind of come out here where things are slower. But
That's great. And
yeah.
you're here with your family?
Yes,
Oh, that's
they travel
wonderful.
with me.
Oh, that's terrific.
Yeah.
So
But
now
they get to have all the fun. They
Yeah.
go off and do all sorts of adventures, and I hear about it late at night.
There you go. Well, you know, somebody's got to work, you know?
Right, exactly.
Somebody's
That's
got
how I
to do
say
the
it.
job. So I know that you started out maybe you thinking you would grow up to be a scientist or something similar to that, and ended up finding out you had a great talent.
Well, all along I really did want to be an artist, but I never thought that it was possible. It was like being akin to being a princess, you know, like
Yeah.
there's only so many princes you can marry, and even less now.
But you found yours.
but
You found yours.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, there
I
you
did
go.
find my prince.
Yeah.
And so it was always this fantasy, you know. I never met an artist. No artist ever came to my school. No artist came to my library.
Wow.
And so it was always just seemed this impossible dream. But I always wanted to make a children's book. You know,
Wow.
I was completely in love with Blueberries for Salad. I wanted to make a book like that.
Wow.
And so I thought I couldn't be that. So I went to Evergreen State College in Olympia, and I studied science. And I studied everything. I studied soil science. I studied birds. I studied insects. I studied botany. I studied just about all of it. And while I was doing it, I was drawing. I would, you know, I remember this moment where I drew this fly for the whole week, hunkered down over a microscope, every little hair on the fly, every little spiracle, the little air holes in the fly, and everything about this fly. And I realized that no matter how hard I worked on this fly, it could never be as perfect as the fly itself. So it was kind of this futile exercise trying to make it perfect. And I just had always been drawing. And it wasn't, I worked for 1 year for the Washington State Department of Ecology. I worked for 1 year, and I just knew I wasn't cut out for the state office worker life. And I just hopped off that bridge and burnt it, and started to be an artist instead.
That's wonderful. Well, I know you've illustrated some books, and we're certainly going to talk about the book that you've written and illustrated. What made you go to, I mean, paper cutting is a very, it's almost a science in itself, and it's a very unusual art slash craft form, I think. I know a lot of, I mean, certainly in the 1800s, 17 and 1800s, paper cutting was a big deal. You know, they did, I mean, a lot of people did it. Now, not so many people. You know, it's usually visual artists are primarily either sculptors or painters. So what brought you to paper cutting? I mean, did you just sit down one day and say, okay, I think I'll cut some paper? I mean, I don't know.
Almost. I have been doing linoleum cut and scratch board.
Oh, okay.
And it wasn't as clean and crisp as I wanted. And I had a friend who went to, he actually realized he could be an artist, so he went to Cooper Union in New York City and got his art degree. And he said, why don't you try cutting it out of paper? And I tried it, and it was that light bulb moment where, you know, I liken it to like all the neurons in my brain became parallel and in harmony.
I think if you were with
felt
Oprah,
so good.
if you were with Oprah right now, it would be the aha moment.
Exactly.
That's right.
Well, it was very much the aha moment, and that was 15 years ago.
Wow.
And I made a book that the first paper cut I ever made was part of a book called Apple, which Abrams publisher will be putting out in another year. And that's the very first paper cut I ever made.
Wow.
And I've just been making them ever since. Each one there's a new challenge because I mess up in each of them. So it leads me to like try to do it better each new time.
Sure. Now you have some things here.
Oh, yeah.
So you can kind of show us. I know it's a little bit windy out here in front of the library today in Sandwich, but it's such a beautiful day. Aren't you glad we're not down in the basement?
Oh, it's lovely here.
I know, it's much nicer.
June in Sandwich.
June in Sandwich.
First I start with a sketch. This is my son, Finn, and it's not really a finished sketch. He's sort of processing all these buttons down here. And I draw the sketch, and then I draw it onto black paper.
Ah, there you go.
So I draw it on black paper, and I take an X-Acto knife, and I start cutting very carefully, little bits. I always do the thing that scares me the most first. Because if you mess up then it's...
You might as well start over.
Well, or it's already, you got the mess up out of the way.
Yeah.
You know, rather than like, oh no, what if I mess up? What if I mess up? If you just get it out of the way, then you can just move on.
That might be a whole new theory for life, don't you
I'm
think?
starting my own philosophy movement.
Yes, I think so.
So I always do the thing that scares me the most, and that's often sort of the face, because with people we can tell if a face is different. So I did this, and I was working along, and it's all one piece of paper. That's another thing I'd like to do, is keep it all one piece, connected a piece of paper. So all my pictures, I'll show the book now.
Yeah.
You could take and just imagine peeling this part off, and it would be a piece of paper, all the black connected. So this one never got finished because I did really mess up. And I kept cutting away more and more of his hair, but I decided to start over before I start all the little buttons.
Unbelievably beautiful, though. It is unbelievably beautiful. Now, do you hang your things in a gallery like this, or?
Yes, I do show my original artwork in shows, mostly in the Northwest, and there's a 15-year retrospective of my work coming up this August, September, and October at the Museum of Contemporary Craft in Portland, Oregon. And I'm excited about that, to see 15 years of this progression of my art from the very first paper cut to the latest. And then I also, this picture that I just showed you will be part of my calendar. I make a calendar every year. So that work is kind of my populist art series where I'm very much influenced by the WPA project of posters. So instead of waiting for the government to hand me out tons of money to make posters for the people,
Well, if they did it to Wall Street, they certainly could do it to Nikki McClure, right?
Well, yeah, so I'm just doing it anyways. And so I make calendars and posters as well from the artwork. So there's original artwork, but then there's many, many other forms of the artwork.
That's wonderful.
Much cheaper.
Yeah. Well, it's wonderful. Now, these are some of the books that you have illustrated, All in a Day by Cynthia Ryland. Is that how you pronounce it? And I don't want the paper to blow up, but Mama, Is It Summer Yet? How did you, all right, so you were working with an author, and you were illustrating.
Right, for this book, this was the first one of these set.
And then for these, you decided, I can do this.
Yeah, I've always been making my own books on my own.
I love the title of this one, by the way.
This was a question my son asked me, and it was March.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful day in March.
Yeah.
And he really wanted strawberries.
Oh,
and I was like,
not quite
not summer yet. No, it's not yet, not yet. But what was I saying was, I started doing this one, but all along I've been making my own books. This was my first majorly published book with another. So it was it was easy for me to sort of jump in and say, yeah, I'll make more books for you.
So this one was your first one, of yours that you did. You illustrated
for Abrams, yes.
Right.
But
okay.
I've been making my own. For
okay,
a while.
and this one now is your newest
Yes.
one, To Market to Market. Explain to me why you wrote this book.
Well, I've been, you hear all the local foods, slow foods, or kind of knowing the story behind your food and how it's crafted and who made it, and it's sort of like it's like pedigree,
Right. Right.
like who birthed who. So with this one, I wanted to explore that just for my own sake. Okay, here we go to market every weekend, me and my son, and we're buying this food, and it's becoming part of our bodies. It's nourishing us and giving us the energy to do the work that we do, but it's really, it's my child's body is growing. I want to know what's in the food that is making his body and making his brain grow. So I just started asking the farmers, hey, can I come and visit your farm? I want to make this book about real people making real things, that real good food, and share it with a much larger audience. And so I went, and Finn, this is my son, Finn, and we went to her farm, Janine's farm first, and he said, what kind of tools do you use? So it was also this other quest of mine, was to find out what kind of tools they use, because he was really curious about that. So I traveled around, and it was remarkable, because not only did I learn so much about how the food I eat, what goes into it, all the work that goes into it, but I really developed these relationships with these people that go so much beyond, like, oh, here's $3 for some kale,
Right,
like, it's their stories and their scrappy characters
and why they do what they do.
Yeah, it just such admiration for their hours and hours and hours of work to give me food.
Sure.
Yeah, it's incredible.
I grew up on a farm in the Midwest, a dairy farm, and it was after, in the 70s, when I had my children. I was married at 10. But when I had my kids, that's when Sesame Street really started to come into its own. And on Sesame Street, I couldn't figure out why they were talking about, milk comes from a cow, an orange comes from an orange tree. And it was because inner city kids had no clue where their food came from. Of course, now, my grandchildren, I'm so lucky and fortunate to have grandkids. I
started so early.
I did. Well, I did at 10, but I am fortunate to have grandchildren, and they now are they have chickens in their backyard, and of course I just die laughing, because I can't imagine my daughter in particular, a chicken farmer, but they have their chickens, and they grow now in the summertime, and they freeze things. They're not big into canning, but they freeze things from their gardens, and I really find it quite amazing. And they're worried about the carbon. My grandson Braden was telling me about the carbon footprint, of the food that comes from far away, and it is truly amazing how everybody is so much more knowledgeable now.
Right.
At least they're knowledgeable in this area. I'm sure they're knowledgeable out where you live. I don't know, in the middle of the country they're as knowledgeable, but maybe they are. I don't know.
No, there's a real resurgence of it, which I think it's so important. And it's, it's not just, there's the carbon footprint as a truck drives by right now.
I know, big truck.
But it's just, food is better. The closer it is to you, the less that little head of lettuce it's so fragile, has to travel. It's better, it's more nourishing, it tastes better, it's more alive. That's just the basic element of it. And if that's in your backyard, then great. But if you have to, travel another mile to get to the farmer's market, then that's good. But you see those little romaines from California.
Oh,
I
know.
Help! In their bags.
I know. Hermetically sealed. I know. That's very true.
Yeah, and I think we are starting to really see the effects of living life so far removed from those basic food productions. The health of our bodies has declined.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
we're, this incredibly rich country, but we are sicker than other countries, and it's because of the food, really. It's just
that, and not walking to the market.
Yeah.
Most of that is
digging in the garden.
Digging in the garden. That's right. But I think you're right. I think there is a huge resurgence. I know here in Sandwich, There's a farmer's market both out in South Sandwich, which is a little ways from here, a few miles from here. There's a local one that happens on the little green that we have across from our own fish hatchery, where they stock fish in various locations. And there's one, I think, in almost every community on the Cape now. We have 15 towns, and I think there's one in every town now, at least on a Saturday or a Friday afternoon or a Wednesday afternoon. So, you know, I think we're getting it, as they say, you know.
Yeah. Well, we're coming back to it. I mean, this is how it always was. You know, way back, we had a village square, people brought their produce in, traded. So we're coming back to that. We've steered away from that, but in the span of, you know, these trees' lives and this world, it's just a tiny blip, you know, and we've caused a lot of, left a big footprint for such a little tiny blip, but
we have.
We're coming back out of that, hopefully, I feel. And the more that we can present it, like in this book, To Market, I don't talk about the farming as being organic farming or even local farming. It's just, this is normal. This is the way the world is, kids.
Yeah.
So enjoy it.
And that's wonderful. You were talking about local produce and shopping local for community, you know, shopping the community for your produce and what have you. And I wanted to let you know that, you know, we touched on a little while ago about the Sandwich Farmers Market and whatever, but we have one that as I said, is on from 9 to 1 on Tuesdays. On our village green, which is kind of neat. Now, do they have these all over Olympia as well? And
yeah, the Olympia one is open April through November, 4 days a week.
4 days. So see, that would be the ideal.
It's really nice. And we've at first it was just this little tiny parking lot, and then the city asked for a vote to build a covered farmers market, and the people said no. But the city said, you know what? We're going to do what we normally do and not listen to you, and we're going to build it anyways.
I love it.
And they did, and it's just become, I think it's the highest grossing farmers market, even above the Seattle farmers market. It's a really
Pikes, isn't that what it's called?
Yeah, Pike Place Market in Seattle.
Right.
And it's a true farmers market. It's amazing. It's you go there and you know, much like if you were to go to the Sandwich Farmers Market, you'd meet everybody in town, right?
Yeah,
And you'd be able to do your business and have these conversations with people rather than just emails or texting people. Like, go and see people's faces.
Actually touch them.
And then actually maybe have lunch with them. And say how they're doing.
Well, there's also a program on the community green, which is at the end of Jan Sebastian Way. We have a community gardens, and they're really trying to work on this program. And trying to get people to participate and join them. So they call it the Live, Learn, Work, and Grow program, which I think is fabulous. And it's through the Cape Cod Housing Assistant Corp, or we call it HAC. And I'm sure that people can get a lot of information about it if they talk to a Christy Cap Nelson, I believe, is the person they talk to. So I hope that people will look into it, but it's great.
So is this, do they have their individual plots that
people can do
farm?
Individual plots out there.
That's and nice for people who aren't so intimidated with like a big space. You just have to start small.
Right.
And then it's nice too, I used to have a farm at a community garden plot. And there's people you can ask questions like, you know, like, what's happening with my lettuce?
Why is my basil getting black spots?
Yeah.
Which I have a problem with. So I need to ask somebody that question. So you don't know why.
No, I don't.
Oh, come on. You're an artist? I mean, it needs more sun. That could be. And there's also we have a great publication here. It's called Edible Cape Cod. And it comes out on a quarterly basis, I believe. And it's all about shopping local, eating local, local things, fresh fish, lots of recipes, fun magazine.
Another thing with these ones too, we have one in my area, but it's really season by season, so it shows you kind of what is local and what is seasonally appropriate. So you're not going to, like, you know, if it's early spring, you're not going to have someone give you this strawberry shortcake and corn on the cob recipe. Like that comes later.
And
like,
let's
focus on asparagus and morels and clams and things like that, you know, like what's right now.
It actually says celebrating the abundance of local food season by season. So it's exactly the same thing. So now I know that you're here. You did a presentation here in Sandwich, a talk, and presented your book. Now Titcom's bookstore, they were also a part of bringing you here as a collaboration. Have you been to Titcom's yet?
Not yet, but I want to go meet the man outside Titcom's.
Oh my gosh, you got to get your picture taken with the man.
I guess
Ben.
he got fixed up.
Yes, yes, he was hit by some driver who went careening off of 6A, a little 2-lane road that's quite beautiful, but can be a little bit treacherous if you're not paying attention. So, but they've got him back now. But again, it's part of that. When you look at a Titcom's bookstore, the Borders Books, the Barnes and Nobles, all fine organizations such as they are, but the Titcoms, you can walk in and they say, hey, we just got a book in, we know it's for you.
There's Borders
I know,
helicopter
Borders
coming.
helicopter coming over. Actually, that might be
the Titcom.
Actually, that's the Coast Guard helicopter, so perhaps he's going to go do good somewhere. I hope you are. Anyway, I hope you do. I mean, please, when you go out there, it is just the most charming little bookstore you've ever been in your life, and they can get you anything, and they're online, and they're so hip to what's going on, yet you go into this little building that is just adorable and sweet, and everybody is so nice, and they're carrying your book. Is that not true?
Yes, it's
excellent.
That's true, which is
excellent.
It's just amazing how that all works. And so I'm doing this book tour and traveling around, and there's lots of independent small bookstores hosting me at the library, but I'm also doing a lot of farmers markets. Like I'll be
cool.
And help me with the name, Falmouth.
Falmouth, yeah.
Falmouth,
yes,
I can almost say it now.
Yeah, it's Falmouth, not foul mouth, Falmouth.
Falmouth.
Yes.
Tomorrow at the farmers market with a bookstore there as well. So it's been just.
Is it 8 Cousins?
Yes.
Yes.
8 Cousins. Yes.
They have a lot of great.
So it's just nice to be a part of those connections of community. So when you come to an event, you all of a sudden are embraced by the community rather than just being sort of another outsider to it.
Sure.
You know, like
sure.
if it was. So I really, that's, yeah,
that's great.
I like to do it that way.
Well, it seems like what you're talking about is what they use the term a lot of time, organic. Something comes, it's organically grown. It looks like your success has been organically grown in a certain extent. You know, you started out one way, realized something, and moved into doing your fabulous artwork. To the point where you have 15 years of retrospective, which is kind of amazing. First of all, you don't look old enough, like me, with those children. But and now you've written 2 books and you've illustrated them. And how exciting for you! I mean, how cool!
It's been really nice. I never had the 5-year business plan or anything like that. Every day, just you just keep following this path because it looks interesting, but it's going off,
all these places
behind that building, and you keep going, and you just
you
leave. It's just been it's been magic, and I'm really happy to be doing what I'm doing.
Well, that's excellent, and you know what? We're happy that you could come to Sandwich, Massachusetts today.
Yes.
We really are.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, and the book is not to market, as they had downstairs in the library where you did your presentation and had your talk. They had written market out as we would say it here.
Right.
Although I'm from Ohio, so I would say market, but market. It is To Market by Nikki Makor and illustrated by Nikki Makor. And you probably can also find on your bookshelves, Mama, Is It Summer Yet? And All in a Day by Cynthia Ryland, illustrated by Nikki. This has just been great, and I feel privileged to have met you, to meet artistic, talented, and warm people who have a real sense of community is just such a pleasure.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me out.
Thank you. Thank you for coming to Cape Conversations.
Oh, great.
All righty, take care now. Bye. Thank you for joining me today for a Cape Conversation. Wasn't Nikki Makor wonderful? I just want you all to know that I hope you support all of the Shop Local and the local farmers markets, everything that has to do with being local, because that's what keeps our community going. Anyway, I will see you next time for a Cape Conversation. Bye.